that seems so far. So I say a little prayer and hope my dreams will take me there, where the skies are blue, to see you once again, my love. Overseas from coast to coast, to find the place I love the most, where the fields are green, to see you once again, my love. I try to read, I go to work, I'm laughing with my friends, but I can't stop to keep myself from thinking. I wonder how, I wonder why, I wonder where they are. The days we had, the songs we sang together, oh yeah. And oh my love, I'm holding on forever. I'm reaching for a love that seems so far. So I say a little prayer and hope my dreams will take me there, where the skies are blue, to see you once again, my love. Overseas from coast to coast, to find the place I love the most, where the fields are green, to see you once again, to hold you in my arms, to promise you my love, to tell you from the start just what I'm thinking of. Reaching for a love that seems so far. So I say a little prayer and hope my dreams will take me there, where the skies are blue, to see you once again, my love. Overseas from coast to coast, to find the place I love the most, where the fields are green, to see you once again. So I say a little prayer and hope my dreams will take me there, where the skies are blue, to see you once again, my love. Overseas from coast to coast, to find the place I love the most, where the fields are green, to see you once again, my love.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Due to technical problems, we are going to begin our keynote speaker session shortly. Thank you very much.
Close by, near to the ground, the nectar found, she moves beyond my eye. You gentle breeze, caress the trees that in my garden grow. flowers in bloom, share your perfume with all who come and go. Down by the lake, the birds will take new babies 'neath their breast until they show it's time to go. The parents will not rest. A springtime story in all its glory. You ask me what it's worth. I don't think twice. There is no price to paradise on earth. Beyond the fountain, Diablo Mountain looks down on vineyard fields.
With you today to discuss this very important issue.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to everyone. Yang Berusaha, Dr. Abdul Razak bin Abdul Manaf, Senior Deputy Director of Professional Services IEB, Head of Centers, Branch Directors, Head of Department, Senior Lecturers, and all the participants of Seminar Nasional Pengurusan dan Kepimpinan Pendidikan KE-29 Institut Aminuddin Baki. Welcome to Seminar Nasional Pengurusan dan Kepimpinan Pendidikan KE-29 Institut Aminuddin Baki. We would like to extend a warm welcome to the guests and participants through this session. We also would like to express our most gratitude to our keynote speaker, Dr. Aya Richinson, to share with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all gathered here for the keynote speaker session with the grace of the Almighty. To express our gratitude to Him, let's spend few minutes for the Doa recital. To lead our Doa today, I would like to invite Al-Fadil Ustaz Zaharin bin Taha. Please welcome him.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. للنبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه الكرام الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يا الله يا مالك Ya Kudus, Ya Allah, kami mohon menadah tangan memohon restumu, Ya Allah. Kurniakanlah kepada kami iman yang kamil, ilmu yang memberi manfaat, rezeki yang halal, rakan sejawat yang saleh, keluarga yang bahagia, usia yang berkat, doa yang mustajab, hajat yang tertunai, kesihatan yang berterusan, keselamatan dan kesejahteraan di dunia dan di akhirat. Ya Allah, Ya Karim, Oh Allah, make this morning session of Seminar Nasional Pengurusan dan Kepimpinan Pendidikan ke-29 Institut Aminuddin Baki as a wasilah towards our process of gaining useful knowledge in order to be creative and agility as a digital leader, and joining our Silaturahim. O Allah, strengthen our resolve and commitment together to devote efforts and energy to our religion, races, and countries. Perfect our devotional service as an exemplary and respected worship. Strengthen the love among us. Shed the light of guidance for us to continue to carry out our responsibilities fairly for the welfare of the community, country, and ummah. Ya Allah, Ya Syakur, jadikanlah kami yang hadir pada pagi ini bersifat kreatif dan bertindak tangkas sebagai pemimpin digital yang disegani. Kami mohon agar disatukan dan diperteguhkan hati-hati kami. Siramilah hati kami dengan cahaya ketakwaan. Jadikanlah kami di bawah lindungan hidayah-Mu. Kami mohon kesejahteraan dan kebahagiaan berkekalan sebagai bekalan kami di dunia dan di akhirat. Ya Allah, Ya Rashid, nurture the noble qualities in our souls by always feeling satisfied with the favors and blessings that have been bestowed upon us. Be kind to our hearts. Show us the right path. Avoid ourselves from the attributes of Mazmumah and bless us with the attributes of Mahmudah. Allahumma ja'al jam'ana hadha jam'an marhumah wa tafarruqana min ba'dihi tafarruqan ma'sumah. ولا تجعل الله فينا ولا معنا شقيا ولا مطرودا ولا محروما. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Taqabbalallahu minna wa minkum.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Al-Fadil Ustaz Zahrin bin Taha, for leading our dua today. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share with you about Dr. Aya Richinson. Dr. Aya Richinson works as a senior education specialist at the World Bank in Malaysia. She is a citizen of Finland and she has been working on education sector for 30 years. Prior to joining the World Bank, Aya worked as a senior ministerial advisor at the Ministry of Education and Culture in Finland, where her primary duties consisted of producing information for the political decision-making, planning, and implementing the development measures set by the government and representing Finland in international working groups and cooperation forums. Before that, she was a counselor of education at the Finnish National Agency for Education, working with core curriculum design and national development programs. She has also worked at local level as a head of education in one of the Finnish municipalities, principal, and a special education teacher. Aya has a PhD degree in educational policy, administration, and leadership from the University of Helsinki, Finland, and master's degree in special education from the University of Joensuu, Finland. She also has 3 additional certificates in educational governance and leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, to give a kickstart to our keynote speaker session for today, let us invite our keynote speaker, Dr. Aya Richinson, to give her speech. The presentation title is on Creativity and Agility as a Leader, as a Digital Leader. Please welcome Dr. Aya.
Dear colleagues, it is my great pleasure to be here with you today to discuss this very important issue of creativity, agility, and digital leadership. And I will walk you through a couple of issues that I found to be very important when we discuss these issues. First, I would like to share with you how we feel that good leader behaves and what is important for him or her. And this is not only my own thinking, but this is from the European Union Directors General from different European countries and the senior leaders from European countries as well. And I had an opportunity to chair a workshop when these leaders discussed about leadership. And when I go through these issues they mentioned and I collected and put together, I want you to pay attention to an issue that there is not one thing here that mentions technology or management or budgeting or finances as is. But these issues are more wider. They are about cooperation, about doing together, about building a big picture. But let me start with knowing processes. So if you as a leader do not know what is the key processes that you are working with, it is really difficult for you to understand or lead others and tell them what they should be doing. So we need to know our processes, but it is not only enough. We only can lead if we can divide the larger themes into smaller parts. So good leader divides projects to small parts, and then he also or she gets everyone involved. Leading is not doing alone, it's doing together, and everybody needs to be involved. And then leader needs to make things easy to understand. Sometimes when we read strategic papers or legislations or even curricular papers, things might be difficult to understand. So leader needs to take the role and explain what do we mean by all these details. And this is important, especially when we talk with stakeholders, because the language we are using in education sometimes is very kind of a specific on educational talk, and we need to tell the parents what we mean when we talk about, for example, pedagogical behaviors in schools. And then a good leader believes in change. Leading is a lot about making the change, but I as a leader don't believe that the change can be done. It will be difficult for others to do as well. Leader needs to be convincing and proactive. We are not the ones who only follow the rules or instructions, but we need to be the ones to lead the way, be the first ones to take the first steps. And by doing that, we need to withstand uncertainty. There are a lot of issues we do not know, we are not sure about, and we need to stand that. We need to be good in communication. We need to be able to listen, and we need to be able to create an atmosphere where everybody can work and be heard. We also need to be innovative and find new ways of doing things. And that is not doing alone, but in networks, and a good leader also manages networks. So this is kind of the background I wanted to share with you before I go to the topics closer to the theme I'm discussing today. But we work on the education industry and school environment, and learning is our kind of a core business. And as leaders, we need to develop ourselves all the time as well. We need to be learning, and learning can be done in many different ways. But when I want to become a better leader, I divided that process into kind of 3 buckets. And the first bucket is the training. And this is kind of the formal way of become a leader. There are basic trainings. Everybody have some background. For example, I have a background on special education. I have a special education master's degree, and then I have a PhD from educational leadership and governance, and those are kind of my basic trainings. But then there are a lot of advanced learning programs that are kind of they can be produce a diploma or certificate, and they can be from different fields of knowledge and skills. And then there are specific leadership trainings available, and continuous professional development should be available to everybody, and it should be something that the person can choose if they feel they need to learn something specific. Then there are smaller thematic trainings, but what I found to be even more and more important in today's world is the learning together aspect, the peer learning, getting together, learn from each other, share. And I think that these kind of seminars that we are having today is one of the forms that we are really and truly learning from each other. And learning and training can be formal, and it also can be informal. But I believe that a lot of what we know comes from our experience. Training gives us kind of a background or basic information, but then we need experience to really implement all the knowledge we have to the real life and real situations. And experience also comes from different places. We can have experience through our work, what we have been doing on education, but many of us have careers outside the education, and that is also valuable. We can bring the lessons that we have been learning in our previous jobs also to serve us as educational leaders. There are different working groups that we are taking part of. We have a different types of leadership roles that we need to be attending. We may be involved in international assignments. And of course, we all have some personal interest and activities outside our work. And what we are doing in our free time is something that usually is very valuable also for our work. But then we also need to have interest and motivation to be a leader, and especially to be a good leader who wants to grow. And one of, I believe, the most important thing is that we are active and we are following what is happening on education sector. We follow the news, we participate in discussions, we go to different meetings and seminars, and we hear and listen what is going on, what's going to be the future. Then we need to know who are our key stakeholders, and we need to be working with them. We need to be active, and we need to take the responsibility of our own careers. If we notice that we are lacking some kind of knowledge, we need to find the solutions how to find that knowledge. Or if we want to have a career development, maybe we are the first ones to take the steps to start to find the new ways for a new career. We want to have a desire for development within our hearts, and we have to be leaving our comfort zones. Comfort zone is something that is very, very familiar to us. It's the place where we feel safe, but we need to step outside of that comfort zone, find something that is difficult for us, and by doing that, we are learning new ways to do things. And for many of us, technology and digitalization have been these kind of steps that we have been taking during the COVID and pandemic and school closures, because we were forced to learn rapidly and fast new ways of doing schooling, teaching, learning processes, because the traditional learning ways were not available any longer. But I will talk about that later in this speech. But going back to the European Union colleagues and leaders, I find this to be one of the hardest things for educational leaders is juggling with roles and responsibilities and finding a balance between issues. We know as leaders that there is always kind of pressure coming to us from national level. There are issues that we need to be doing, and then there is, on the other hand, pressures coming from the school levels, district levels. They have hopes, wishes, and needs. And then we are there in the middle, and we are the ones who should kind of understand what we need on national level, what we need on school level, and then try to combine all that, finding the balance. How is education serving the best both of these ends? And while doing that, finding the balance, I found these two pairs to be very important. In many European countries, and I believe that this is a global issue, not only in Europe, so I hope that you can find that these themes would be important also for you, or if you have thought about those. Many people think about how to go with the segregation or inclusion. And this is not only about special education, but it's about equity and equality of education system. Do we build segregative systems or inclusive systems? Then there is a kind of a balancing between top-down instructions and bottom-up requirements, and how to balance both these aspects. Many countries are trying to figure out what is the best way to control and guide education system. Is centralized control good, or should it be decentralized, giving the responsibilities more on the local level, adding autonomy, and where is the right balance? And that varies in different countries. There is no one right solution, it's different. And then if there are problems arising, countries have different strategies. Some countries are tightening control from the national side, from the government side, and some countries are adding more autonomy to the local level so they could do more assessments by themselves and also change the behaviors on the local level more fast if they had more autonomy. And that leads us to a situation with, do we have a system that is based on ranking of schools, ranking of students, or are we using more of self-evaluation, and what is the right balance between these two? And then the last one is the competition and cooperation part. I heard of countries where the schools are heavily ranked, and they get finances and best students according to the rankings, how well they are doing amongst their peer schools. And that had led to a situation where the schools do not want to work together because they don't want to share their good examples to others, because they want to keep them for themselves to stay in the position being the best school in the area. But then on the other hand, there is then lack on the cooperation part if the competitive perspective is very present. But then this leads us to the growing role of technology. And because of the COVID, schools were forced pretty much overnight to transfer from in-person teaching and learning processes, students going to schools, to the remote learning and teaching. And for some, that was very difficult, and for some, it was not. But the truth is that the role of technology was growing even before the COVID. So this is not something we just learned in the past 2 years, but we have been seeing this for at least a decade already. But these school closures just made it more visible and maybe a little bit faster, the process that we need to be taking anyways. The world relies a lot nowadays to the technology, digital tools, information, online solutions, applications. So technology is essential today, and in the future it's going to be even more important. So there is no reason at all how we could be explaining ourselves that we do not need to know about technology or we shouldn't use technology. That is not the question. We have to. And there are some basic elements that need to be secured, however, because if we want to use the technology the best possible way, there are issues that need to be working. And of course, we need to have connections. If we are not connected online, how can we use technology? And also the connections need to be fast, they need to be reliable, and they need to be everywhere, so everyone is connected. Then we need to have the hardware. We need to have computers, laptops, we need to have different kind of phones, smartphones, and there are lots of different kind of hardware we can be using. But that hardware is only kind of a background, and what is important is what is inside the hardware, and that's the software. We need to have applications. In school, we need to have different learning materials, and they need to be high in quality, and they have to be easy to use, and they also need to be not too expensive so we can really buy them and use them. But all these, getting the hardware and software, it requires some resources, because all these need to be updated every once in a while. So it's not enough that we buy some equipment today and we don't replace them, because technology is evolving so fast, so we need to keep up. But maybe the most difficult one for us is the competence. How do we learn how to use the technology? First, we need to learn how to use the computer, how to turn it on and how to turn it off, and how to log in and how to share presentations and things like that. And that is usually the first step we are taking. But I think that we are already there. We know how to do that. Now we are going to the second and maybe more important phase on the competence development, is how on digital environments. And to do that, we need to have digital pedagogies, and we need to really learn how to use that. And these changes are constant and they are ongoing. So even if we know something today, it will be different tomorrow. So we need to be lifelong learners when we talk about technology. And we use some tools today, but the tools we are using tomorrow and within 5 years are going to be different. There are going to be more of those, and we need to be keeping up with it. But I see technology as a tool. That is not kind of important as itself, but it is a tool for us to do something bigger, more, and better. And we also need to keep in mind that when we are working in a school environment, in the educational field, we are working with children and youth who are growing, and we are leading by example. We are the ones who show the way, not only what we are saying, but also what we are doing. And how we use our own technological devices is an example for our children, how they should be using those as well. But then if we go even deeper to the digitality and the possibilities that technology is offering us, I collected only few. I totally understand that there is so many of the tools available and they vary that it's impossible to put all of them into one slide. But I collected some, and I hope that you have in your mind more, but maybe this gives you some kind of idea what I'm trying to kind of say with this picture. First of all, we can use technology for different kind of reporting and kind of doing the paperwork, or as a leader, we need to do a lot of reports and plans and file some paperwork and send them to our leaders, send them to schools. And we need to make plans, strategic plans, kind of actual working plans. And we also need to do evaluations. We need to see how we are doing, what we have been achieving. And for example, the student evaluation is one part of the reporting process. And in this, technology is a great tool. And for you as a leader to be a very competent, to use all these tools that are available for the reporting part, I hope that you keep on learning, because they save you a lot of time. The better you can use all the tools available, the more time you will be having to interact with people and do other things. Then the next step is budgeting. And in this, we have used maybe the technology for a longer period of time. Our finances are pretty much online. We manage our finances through technology. We monitor our budgets, our money, how we spend it, what is it used for. And then also we allocate our funds, and keeping all the numbers safe, and technology, the computers, they are very fast to count, and they are also very reliable. So of course we need to use technology on this. But then online is also good for filing. We have different ways to save the information we have. We have our own personal files where we keep all our important papers and data secured. Then we also have shared files that we share with other people. We have different electronic forms. We have different sets of data that is in our use. So this is kind of the hardcore management type of technology use. But then there is this kind of a leadership side. It's the communication. And technology is also good in communication. Of course, the very powerful way is kind of to sit down with people and discuss. But also technology helps us to be together, share and learn from each other everyday basis. And of course, the traditional old-fashioned one that we used a lot earlier years was the phone. And it's still a very, very useful and convenient way to connect. But now more and more things are going online. For example, many meetings are nowadays online. We are using email. We have different shared folders. We have web platforms that we are using. and then a lot of different kind of social media that is used also for learning, but pretty much it's on the communication that people are sharing nowadays. And then we have the archives and records, and those are the documents saved, keeping in order, and they are there for evidence and for proof. But then there are critical notions. Not everything is easy or even safe when we talk about technology, and this is something we all need to remember, and these things need to be taken seriously. First of all, I will start with the technology. If the technology is outdated or old, it cannot be used in the best possible way. So we should keep up. I don't mean that we always should have the newest versions or best possible technology available. That's not the goal. Let's not try to do that. What we want to have is to have a technology that is working well, and we can use all the software that we need to be using. Then, at least I have noticed a couple of times that the technology-based work is interrupted very quickly if the connections do not work. So if, for example, there is no online connection, there is a lot of information, for example, in my computer. The computer is one of my key tools that I work with. If there is, all the information is shared in the different kind of clouds, and if there is no connections or not electricity, it harms the work a lot. So there is the risk of interruptions if our work is based on technology. And then there are situations where the data has been lost. So we have been working on something, and then we suddenly lose the file. And if that file was not backed up in some other place, then it was lost. Sometimes it can be found, but in some cases it's lost, and we need to start again. So we need to secure that no data is lost. Then we need to be very aware that not everything that we see on media is correct or true. We need to have a criticism. There are false and fake news. And this is the topic that we need to be teaching our students, because this is something they do not know. They are children, they are young people. And I think when we talk about technology and schools, this is one of the most important things, that we cannot trust all we can see online. We need to be critical. Then there are a lot of files, you as an education leader, that is only for your use. But you also need to be able to access all the information that you need to have the access in order for you to kind of do your work. So we need to be able to share the information that is needed, but the information shouldn't be shared if it's not necessary, because there are the privacy policy issues that need to be taken seriously. We cannot share the data about individual people. There are lots of information that is not for everybody, and we need to be very, very careful who we share and what we share. Then there are data leaks. There are people or groups who want to harm us, and they are trying to find different ways to access our data online. So there are leaks, and we should have very strong security systems so these leaks wouldn't be possible. And all that is that we know we have to have processes how to safeguard our personal data. So these are kind of the critical notions about technology. But when we take care of these, there is so many good sides on the digital tools that we just need to know that these are the things we need to take care of, but then there is so many advantages that we should keep on using all the powerful tools we have. But when we are moving towards even more and more digital future, we need to think about ourselves and how we believe that, what is my identity and attitude towards technology. Because it is not only that I know how to use the technology, it's also how I think that it benefits me, or if I feel comfortable using that, or if I feel pleased to do that. I'm confessing here that when the emails came and the first computers and smartphones, and it was sometimes late 1990s and early 2000, I wasn't very keen. I was a little bit hesitant, but then when I took the first step and gave the technology the opportunity to show what it can do for me, I was really impressed. But then at the time I was working as a school principal, and I had teachers working in my school, and the traditional way to share information was to kind of have teachers meetings and share information. We copied a lot of papers and shared the papers to all the teachers. And then I made a change that I started to send these papers by email. And that was a kind of a huge issue. There were many teachers who didn't want to do that. They didn't want to read their emails, and they still wanted me to hand them the paper versions of all the things that we have been agreeing. But that is only an example that happened then, but I believe that the phenomena is still there. While we go ahead and there are new things coming every time, even if we take care of ourselves, secure that my attitude is pro technology and my skills are up today, then I also need to take sure that my staff and my teachers, if you are working in school level, they also are able and willing to learn more. It is very important. Because even if the using technology earlier was an option, it is not anymore, it's a requirement. And then there has been discussion in the nation that has something to do in the education, I would say a lot, because education is the service that we are trying to create the future working labor for our countries. And it has been said that technology is taking away jobs. So technology is replacing people. But I really don't believe that. Yes, some jobs may be disappearing, but there will be new ones coming. New ways of working and total new professions that are arising. And I like to believe that technology is something that supports us and helps us and gives us more time to communicate, plan, share, be with people. So the time wouldn't go to those slow processes that now the computers can do, but all the time is freed from that we can use to something else. And then in education, I love education because it's something that we do for a future and for a better future. And it is the kind of a traditional way to believe that leadership is about making decisions. So the leader should make a decision, and then there comes another issue and make another decision. But maybe, however, we could be thinking more in the future that decision making should be shared. And now we start to talk about shared leadership. And the decision making and leading could be taken to the level where people are in the best position to make those changes or decisions. Maybe giving a little bit more autonomy to the people who are working on the issues themselves. And there's, of course, always a need for planning. There is always need for rules. But at some point, we come to a situation that even how hard we try to plan, how hard we try to evaluate things, how hard we try to kind of keep on track, there are still situations that is not enough. There are things happening around us that we have no control over. There are sudden changes like the COVID was, but even smaller ones in the kind of a local level. But this uncertainty, it must be accepted. But that is maybe one of the hardest lessons for the leader, to accept the uncertainty. And the second thing is that organization is never ready. Even if we figure out something today, tomorrow may be a different situation and we need to start all over again. So never ready, always on the run, always on the go. And here, the creativity, resilience, and flexibility are needed. We need to be able to cope in changing situations, change our ways, innovate, find new ways. And now here, we are also leading by our own example. Our children, our young people, they are following us. They are seeing us getting into hard places, figuring them out, finding solutions, and being able to move forward. And leading in the school environment is creating conditions that support learning. So we need to be able to create a place where our students can learn and where they can feel safe and where they can feel supported and taken care of. A big part of being a leader is leading people, because the organization is not a machine. It's made up of people, and people are unpredictable. We are all different. We have our different styles. We react on issues differently. So there is no one-size-fits-all solutions here. And a good leader knows that we are different. So what would be valuable for all of us is to keep in mind that we need to have a clear goal and vision what we are trying to do. If I, as a leader, don't know what is expected from me, how can I tell my staff what they are expected to do? So as a leader, when I have a goal and vision in mind, then I need to explain that to the employees so they can do their job better and they can understand the context and what they are doing. And good leaders, they inspire people. They build confidence on people. They are open, they share. And then leaders also need to support their staff. So not only sharing information or evaluating the staff, there needs to be a supportive element and there needs to be trust in the system. We need to trust that our people, they are doing the best they can, and we support them in doing that. And then good leaders also, they encourage the staff into experiment and encourage to take independent kind of decisions, make decisions in their classes and try different pedagogies, working methods. And what is also often discussed in the education industry is the pedagogical leadership. And this is very unique for education. And sometimes the pedagogical leadership is very kind of hard to understand, but how I understand the pedagogical leadership, it's not only telling teachers which are the pedagogies they should be using in the classroom. That might be one part of it, but it's not all of it. But pedagogical leadership for me is creating a school environment where teachers can work. So it's all about finding resources, taking care of the school buildings, getting the technology, getting the apps, the tools, the books, the pencils, the school lunches, the rides to school, the trips, the safety issues, the counseling, health issues. So it's everything that needs to be there so learning can take place. And that to me is pedagogical leadership. So the leader is enabler both for teachers to do their job the best possible way and for students to learn the best capacity. And then we come to the teaching and learning technology. And school is for students. That is our main goal. We are for students. And technology is the future of our children and youth. And our mission is to help students to use technology and understand the role of it. And it's not only for their school life, but it's only for the future. And many children have their own technological devices, for example, smartphones, and they are using those for entertainment and communication. But the role of the school is to help students to use technology for learning, because that is something that students maybe don't learn in other places. And we need to teach them how to be very critical about media, how to be safe online. And during the pandemic, we have learned a lot about the use of technology, and these lessons should not be forgotten. So now when the schools are open again, I hope and I believe that we do not go back to the same way of schooling we had before, but we take the best parts of technology and continue to use them while still working and learning in the school environment. And then the technology has also a very, very great potential to diversify pedagogy and teaching methods. We can try different things. We have in our schools students who have different learning needs, and we can really use technology to support our students have more personalized learning experiences. But of course, it must be secured that everyone has equal access and no one is left behind. And leading is doing together. And some of these networks are something that are best done in person, and the technology will support us. For example, cooperation with pupils, parents, the families, our school and the other schools in the area. But then when we start to go to a bigger networks, for example, for the research communities, universities, different kind of stakeholder organizations, local companies, or even kind of a national or global networks, then the technology is offering us a lot of opportunities to connect. Especially the international part, I would like to see more of international cooperation that technology is now allowing us to do. So the networks are really important in a way, because leading is not doing alone. Leading is doing together, cooperating. And there are different types of networks, and they have their own different purposes. And technology and digitalization have great opportunities for cooperation, online meetings, emails, instant messaging, calls, and so on. And especially when the distances are long, it is not always necessary for us to meet in person, and it saves us a lot of time if we have had at least some of the meetings online. Not all, but at least some. And then I'd like to turn towards the end and maybe give some example from Finland, because this is from my own PhD research, and I made a research to municipality education directors, and in Malaysian context, that means kind of the state level or district level leaders. So I asked these education directors on the local level that what are the key development targets. What are the things that we need to develop in Finnish education system? What needs to be done? And first, they said pedagogy and operating culture in the school. And the second one was digitalization and technology. This was in 2016, so of course things have changed a bit, but I don't believe that it has changed that much. So even in Finland, the digitalization technology issue, it's very, very high on the list, what needs to be changed, what needs to be learned. And then I asked a little bit more about it, what needs to be done. And then they mentioned that the technology is not used the best way possible at this point, so it could be used better in more things. And there needs to be more pedagogical online pedagogies developed. Teachers do not know them yet. We do not have the proper e-learning environment, but hopefully this has changed during COVID. And there are shortcomings in the equipment in schools. Maybe the condition of the tools are not very good. And then there are not enough resources, so the schools could buy all the technology and materials they need. And then probably there are not even available enough the high quality online learning materials. Maybe there should be more providers to that. And this is the last slide, and I can see that as a leader, I could divide my work into 3 categories. So I need to take care of the structures. That's pretty much the money and resources and tools and plans and legislations and things like that. Then I need to take care of the human resources, and that's the people, the students, the teachers, the communities. But what we don't talk often enough is the culture and the symbols, how we behave, what is important for us, what is the national culture, national history, what is important for us, what do we value. And leading all these 3 together is something that we need to do, need to keep in mind, and they support each other. And I would like to end my kind of a speech today with this notion, and I want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aija Rinkinen, Senior Education Specialist, Malaysia representative of World Bank, with the address Creativity and Agility as a Digital Leader. Ladies and gentlemen, one announcement: we have exhibition in the big hall, just down the steps and turn right at the big hall. So please visit the exhibition, which was handled by Sharp, and also databases, online content, LMS. So please visit during your breaks. Thank you very much. So we move on to the next session, which is the sharing of ideas, number 2. And we are fortunate to have Mr. Nick Hutton, Regional Director, Asia D2l. And Mr. Hutton will be talking about sustaining quality of education in the new normal with technology. Let me share you about Mr. Hutton. Nick Hutton is the Regional Director for Asia at D2l, a global learning innovation technology company. At the pole position of the company's Asian operation, Nick spearheads the end-to-end business while plotting the company's strategic roadmap for accelerated growth in the region. With a degree in business management, Nick started his career with Apple Computer in the United Kingdom before moving to Asia to drive Apple's growth across the region. He went on to work in the Asia-Pacific telco industry until 2008, when he became the CEO of Universitas 21 Global. a leading fully online business school in Singapore. Nick joined D2l in 2016, where he focuses his energies on growing Asia into D2l's most prominent international business market. He envisioned D2l's bright space becoming the world's leading LMS on the back of its superior technology-backed value propositions. Apart from his work, Nick enjoys sports and spending time with his family. And we will be communicating, and Mr. Hutton will be coming us from overseas through live session. Hello, Mr. Hutton. Good morning, Mr. Hutton. Good morning, Mr. Hutton.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Mr. Hutton.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me, Mr. Hutton? Apparently not.
So, good morning, everybody. And first of all, many thanks for taking the time out to attend this session this morning. I would also like to thank IAB for inviting me to speak, and also D2l's business partner in Malaysia, eLearning Minds, for supporting this event. Hopefully you can hear me at the moment. Great. Let me also apologize for not being with you in person today. Unfortunately, hello? Sorry, I had some interruption there. Shall I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So as I was saying, I apologize for not being here or with you in person today. Unfortunately, one of my family members tested positive for COVID on Sunday, and I felt it best not to make the journey to Genting. So here I am, stuck in Singapore, not able to be with you, which is a shame. My name is Nick Hutton, and I am the Regional Director for Asia for D2l, or Desire to Learn, as we used to be called, the company that created Brightspace, the #1 learning management system globally for next generation teaching and learning. Let me just share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, hopefully you can see my slides. So the subject that I'd like to discuss with you today is sustaining the quality of education in the new normal with technology. Students, teachers, and administrators are all asking the question, what does the new normal look like at your institution? Despite the emergency shift to online brought on by COVID-19, colleges and universities learned how to provide flexible options for everyone, everywhere, anytime. Yet, this forced explosion of options is not without consequences. Where do we go? Is it hybrid learning? Is it online? Is it blended? Is it on campus? Is it a mixture? And as we move into the next chapter, institutions must respond to the new needs of students and faculty and teachers with the ultimate objective of sustaining the quality of education in the new normal. In D2l, we have a saying which is reach every learner. And this is very much a common theme for us. But it's what happens leading up to this statement that is the most important, because it's all about adoption. It's all about adapting to the new environment. It's all about change management. And if the teachers are not able to or can't or don't want to adopt the technology, then obviously you can't reach every learner. So the combination of two is incredibly powerful. With the global COVID-19 pandemic lingering, schools around the world continue to grapple with uncertainty, especially as it relates to in-person classroom learning. The uncertainty and unpredictability, creates a great deal of anxiety and stress for teachers, for learners, and of course for their families. Technology that supports teaching and learning regardless of circumstance or context is no longer an option, but an infrastructure requirement for all schools to maintain educational continuity. And it needs to be easy to use, more accessible, more equitable, and with a new approach to assessments. Let me just start by telling you a little bit about D2l, its history, its philosophy, and where we are today. We were founded 22 years ago in 1999, 23 now actually, 23 years ago in 1999, and under strong and steady leadership, the mission that was set forth by John Baker 23 years ago. John Baker is our founder and CEO and still very much is our CEO. The mission to transform the way the world learns using the smart application of technology, one learner at a time. One size really does not fit all, has never wavered. So that mission has never wavered. But the journey is shaped by our valued partners and customers across the globe. We watch, we listen, and we learn from our 1,000+ education customers and over 15 million learners, and are passionate about responding to their needs with innovative solutions, products, and services. We are very much a teaching and learning company and have been from day one. We follow the latest pedagogical trends and styles from around the world, and we build them into the tools and activities on the Brightspace Learning Management platform. We've always put pedagogy first and technology second. Technology is very much the enabler. Philosophically, it's a little different to some, maybe all of our competitors who typically say we're a software company, we sit in the cloud, and oh, by the way, we do education. We believe that we really are your partner in teaching and learning, innovation, and transformation. I just wanted to take a moment to mention some awards that we received recently, and the reason is because we're incredibly honored to have received them. SIIA is a North American, a very well-respected North American education technology analyst, and they have a series of awards every year called the Cody Awards. This year, 2022, Brightspace was named winner in 3 categories: Best Customer Education LMS, Best Emerging Technology for Administrators, which I think is a very interesting one, and of course the most important one, which is the overall Best Learning Management System. So I think you'll agree it's quite an outstanding group of awards. Okay, so now let's dive into the subject at hand. What is the new normal? And what I'm going to do is discuss it with reference to the D2l Learning Management System platform, Brightspace, and how we answer that question and how we show the reason why using technology in the new normal is absolutely critical to being able to continue to deliver outstanding teaching and learning in schools and universities. So back in March 2020, just as the pandemic was taking hold, McKinsey & Co. Came out with a very interesting statement. They said, crises are the adrenaline for innovation. So there's no doubt that we've all been through a crisis. We've had a shock to our systems and our learning systems. And as a community, though, we're not looking at this as a disruption. Disruption is what happens when you're clinging to old models of thinking. We're looking at this as an opportunity to move forward and to innovate. Together, we can decide what we want to keep from what we've learned and optimize, and what we want to leave behind to forge a brand new path. These are the things we need to be thinking about as we use technology to solve problems in support of learning. And the problems we're facing are incredibly lofty. With respect to younger learners, we've all heard the discussions on learning loss or gaps and learning recovery. There's no question that the shift to remote learning has impacted learners in different ways, and inequities in our systems were highlighted as some students were disproportionately affected. Going forward, we can better leverage technology to support the well-being of our learning communities, learners, educators, parents, family, even employees and employers too. Teachers are overwhelmed with new demands and ever-changing expectations, making it even more difficult to give each student the individual attention they need to understand where their students are today and help them guide them to where they need to be tomorrow. Teachers must be enabled and empowered to maximize the use of data and technology, to personalize learning experiences at scale, and to build safe and secure educational communities that provide social and emotional support for students, both inside and outside the classroom. And those in leadership know that teachers, employees, students, and their families are expecting sophisticated, modern, and personalized online learning, the same technology experience that they are used to in other areas of their lives. Leaders must be supported to deliver this vision and enabled to use data to measure its effectiveness. We believe that at D2l, we are very much a partner to you in teaching and learning, innovation and transformation, as I mentioned earlier on. One thing that we've learned over our years of partnership with so many different learning organizations around the world is that learning transformation requires so much more than great technology. We understand that true transformation requires a dedicated partner, one with experience and expertise in technology, in pedagogy, in content creation and learning strategy, and of course in change management. Ultimately, this means that as a company, we place our users and customers at the center of all we do. Designing, building, and delivering great products, solutions, and services begins with empathy. Listening to you whenever we can on multiple channels, whether it's advisory boards, what we call our product ideas exchange, and events like our customer conferences, means that we understand that we are building the right thing. Prioritize and reprioritizing roadmap features, testing ideas, and controlled releases help make sure that we've built the right thing before we launch and unleash new features and capabilities. It's this combination of technology plus expertise plus approach that makes D2L unique and sets us apart from our competition. In order to get the most out of a learning technology platform, it's critical that the technology is worry-free. So what does worry-free mean? Well, first of all, learning from any location on any device. Brightspace is a leading learning management platform built from the ground up to include native apps designed for mobile and fully responsive web that supports all users on all devices. Our mobile experience is based on thousands of design sessions with students, instructors, teachers, and is optimized to stay on track while on the go. And our apps ratings confirm that our users absolutely love them. The objective, as I mentioned earlier, is to reach every learner in your class. We also align very closely with the global accessibility standards, such as Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, and the other major standards that are available and there in North America. And this commitment to universal design for learning means our platform is designed with accessibility in mind and is interoperable with assistive technologies, obviously to create equity across all students in the class. Accessibility and inclusion through the technology is absolutely critical. No need to worry about downtime is another part of worry-free technology. You know, for us, you get leading industry uptime and the best architecture for disaster recovery. Even our monthly updates and enhancements are delivered without downtime, which is, of course, uneventful for your IT staff and seamless for your students and faculty. Updates are predictable and in your control, and we let you decide when to turn them on. The next part of worry-free technology is around openness. So being able to plug into your unique ecosystem. You know, we know that you need a digital confederation of tools, content, and applications dynamically connected through open standards and APIs. And unlike other platforms that can be walled gardens, the D2L Brightspace platform has open source code libraries and standards-based integrations. We build and maintain the critical core while enabling you to build around the edges. This includes easy access to your data through APIs and downloadable data sets and timely insights that are built into your normal workflows. So openness is always a critical part of having the right technology platform. Security, something that is most important for every institution around the world. So depending on industry standard security, at D2L, we have a global relationship with Amazon Web Services, an exclusive relationship with them. And so they are our cloud hosting partner around the world. As it so happens in Asia, all of our customers are hosted from Amazon Web Services sitting in Singapore. And as you probably know, those of you who know anything about Amazon Web Services probably has the highest level of security built into their platform for any cloud hosting service in the world today. What we do, and what is very important for us and our customers, is we don't just rely on the security levels with Amazon Web Services. We make sure that we secure our software platform, so Brightspace, to the highest ISO standards. So we end up, if you like, with a double level of security for our customers. And finally, privacy. And privacy is by design. You know, we understand that privacy is not just about keeping your data secure with our encryption, whether in transit or at rest in the cloud. You own your data and you control it. So we make sure that we're a leader in building software with privacy by design as a core principle, supporting all of the various different privacy standards, GDPR, PIPEDA, and others, and making sure that privacy really is by design. So having worry-free technology, I believe, is an absolute must for teachers, for administrators, and of course for your IT colleagues. Now, when we think about a platform built to support learning transformation, we envisage an environment that is robust enough to demonstrate and capture evidence of a learner's knowledge in the context of their skills and interests. Secondly, deliver unique learning experiences that can be automated and orchestrated on rules. And thirdly, offer different programming opportunities for self-paced, competency and mastery-based learning. Now, at the same time as that, we also need to be open enough to integrate into a larger learning ecosystem, as I mentioned just a moment before, and of course, promote creativity and innovation. And this is versus a platform that is simplistic and limits possibilities. D2l's Brightspace is a learning innovation platform built for people that care deeply about ensuring that all students reach their potential. Our learning platform is flexible enough to work for everyone. It meets people where they are today while offering advanced features and functions to discover over time. We are always welcoming new users, first-time learners, first-time educators, first-time designers, and as quickly as possible. We want those new users to benefit from what our power users have been doing for a long time. So we make it easy to do the things that you need to do daily, hopefully save you some time, and make it easy to discover options to create a more delightful experience for you and your learners. Students today are different. And as probably many of you in the audience will know, if you've been in education for a while, this is not news to you. They are different today than they were 10 and even 5 years ago. You know, Generation Z today want to multitask across 5 screens. They use social media channels as forms of research. We know all of this. And in the age of mobile phones and gadgets, the role of educational institutions as a venue for developing interpersonal relationships and human connections cannot be overemphasized. Hence, the pandemic impacted educational institutions to their core by disrupting their very nature as social arenas. The abruptness of the lockdowns and shutdowns undoubtedly forced schools to adapt to online modalities to a degree never seen before. They had to be creative in devising strategies to shift the entire institution into full online mode in a very short period of time. For those who already had a learning technology platform, they were able to capitalize on their previous investments in people and technology to direct that shift and bring everyone together in the same path. Many undertook massive teacher and faculty development programs, training hundreds of teachers across all programs to enable them to get on board what was becoming the digital normal. In many cases, the teachers were supported with additional trainings on instructional design, online pedagogy, and assessment and related technologies that they could use for their online classes. So after the initial shock, those that already had the relevant technologies in place were able to make the adjustment using their learning management systems and the infusion of related technologies and mitigate the pandemic's impact for most or all of their courses. And as students' exposure to technology and enabled learning rises, so will their expectations as they seek more flexible alternatives to traditional on-campus learning models. In turn, this means that the demand for online learning will continue to increase. And one of the key learnings from the pandemic that we need to understand is that teaching is not necessarily learning when you're using a video collaboration tool to try to replace a face-to-face class. It's not digital education or technology-enhanced learning. The changes we adapt in teaching and learning should enhance the quality and accessibility to build a truly digital setting environment. The combination of digital and real-world teaching and learning is a must for development and growth. And with government support guidelines and technology offering solutions at a tremendous pace, it looks like technology-enhanced learning and learning is going to go from strength to strength. And ironically, the pandemic has forced progress and involvement at a faster pace than anyone thought was possible. The key now is not to go backwards, but to embrace the changes and ensure that technology plays a major role in the future. One practice to allow for an even more consistent learning experience is that schools should use technology to involve parents more when it comes to their children's education as a form of partnership with parents. Being in a classroom, be it physical or virtual, is not possible for parents. However, through technology, parents can be offered a window into the classroom through constant updates and communications that parents can access in their own time to keep track of their children's activities and see how they are performing. At D2l, our learning management rollout is always done intentionally with an understanding of teacher adoption and change management in a way that is unique in the market. We take a three-part partnership approach to implementation, training, and ongoing support that puts your vision first. So firstly, it aligns your strategic vision to D2l Brightspace tools and adoption. Secondly, it enables and empowers stakeholders to reach that vision. And thirdly, it uses data to evolve, adapt, and achieve success. And I would suggest that those three visions are absolutely critical to any rollout of any learning management system that any school goes with. For us, this has helped expand clients and support their success. I'll give you one small example. In the state of Georgia in North America, we have a customer called Gwinnett County Public Schools. It's a large district in Georgia. We've worked with them for years, supporting more than 182,000 students. And Gwinnett originally started by using Brightspace to support their fully online school, known as Gwinnett Online Campus. And now they've expanded their programs to support blended learning right across the district, which has helped them to confidently provide learning continuity. And the critical part of our partnership is co-defining adoption. And what that truly means for you in the context of different forms of learning, whether it's distance, online, face-to-face, blended, etc. Some vendors will claim 100% adoption, but when you dig a little deeper, the focus is on simple and singular tasks, like a student logging in once a week to check grades, or teachers logging in once a day to take attendance. But this type of adoption doesn't lead to true equity and success for all students. We measure client adoption as consistent and intentional use of the platform aligned to your strategic goals. Success coaches are often an add-on with other vendors and simply focus on tool training alone. What D2l Success Coaches do are they're part of a team of former educators included with D2l Brightspace as a key part of your support to ensure that the tools are not just being adopted, but being adopted well. And it's important to note this expanded support model that we offer to our clients as part of the standard experience is not because we aren't easy to use. It's because good teaching isn't easy and change isn't easy. We want to make sure that you have the models in place that support successful digital transformation. You know, the needs of students are constantly evolving, and quality teaching and leadership require resiliency, adaptability, and the capacity to manage change. One of the surest ways to provide the best experience for students is making sure they have the best teachers. Help provide flexible and effective professional learning solutions that support high quality teaching and learning and ultimately lead to better student outcomes. So leveraging D2L's Brightspace as a single platform for all learning means that teachers can share the same learning experiences as students. And this familiarity can help enhance the utilization and adoption of Brightspace and other platforms and inspire new ideas for how technology can support them to be more effective. Teachers are obviously the necessary ingredient for the success of any learning system. In person, blended, or online, it's critical that schools and districts help offer learning opportunities to provide equitable access to quality teachers for every student. Organizations today need to facilitate a variety of professional learning needs, everything from compliance and tech training to pedagogy and professional learning, regardless of the type of learning you need to provide. And our platform, the D2L Brightspace platform, provides a solid foundation and helps give you the tools to facilitate high quality programs that drive results. There is no doubt that having access to technology enhanced learning prepares students for lifelong learning, as it is essential to give them greater exposure to technology because, quite simply, the world hinges on technological evolution across all sectors. And if they don't get that exposure, they risk being left behind in the workforce. I strongly believe that the most effective way to use technology to enhance teaching and learning is in a blended mode. In other words, using the technology, in most cases a learning management system, to support and enhance traditional classroom-based teaching. In an educational institution, the school or the college environment is still an incredibly important experience for any student. But being able to have the flexibility that the technology in a blended form enables for both teachers and students is also critical to delivering the best outcomes for the learners. In summary, D2L Brightspace is more than just an ordinary LMS. We are your complete learning partner, advancing your mission for advocacy, education, safety standards, accessibility, diversity, and inclusion, and workplace development through our partnership, and enabling you to personalize learning experiences at scale, build strong learning communities, and invest in our and your teachers. Thank you very much indeed. I hope the session was useful for you, and I thank you for spending the time with me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference. During the break, please do visit the eLearning Minds booth to find out more about Brightspace, the Brightspace LMS. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nick Hutton. Thank you so much for your sharing. I hope all of you enjoy the interesting sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to say thank you to Mr. Nick Hutton for the interesting presentation. It was a pleasure to have you online with us. And also thank you to all for your attention. We hope the presentation will be beneficial for everyone. Thank you very much. Now we move to the next sharing session.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hadirin hadirat yang dihormati sekalian, Seminar Nasional Pengurusan dan Kepimpinan Pendidikan diteruskan lagi dengan perkongsian ilmu ketiga oleh Dr. Rizq Muhammad Syazwan, Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif CEO Rizq Educare. Berikut disampaikan biodata tetamu perkongsian ilmu untuk kali ketiga ini. Yang berusaha Dr. Rizq Muhammad Syazwan merupakan seorang doktor yang menukar kejaya sebagai usahawan. Beliau merupakan Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif atau CEO yang menitik berat hasil kerja dan usaha gigih serta terlibat secara proaktif dalam semua aspek pembangunan dan pengurusan perniagaan dari peringkat atasan hingga ke peringkat bawahan. Beliau berupaya mengenal pasti peluang baharu dan mengekalkan pertumbuhan perniagaan. Beliau juga merupakan pengasas Rizq Educare sendirian berhad dan berjaya mengembangkan perniagaan daripada sifar kepada pendapatan 2 juta pada tahun pertama. Selain itu, beliau turut mengasaskan studio hiburan atau edutainment berasaskan pendidikan iaitu Melon Group Sendirian Berhad yang memfokuskan kepada bahan pendidikan yang inovatif, rakaman studio dan program-program hiburan berasaskan pendidikan. Beliau mempunyai pengalaman yang luas dalam pembangunan kandungan pembelajaran bersama Finasan FDAM. Di samping itu, beliau membuka Rizq Group Propriety Limited di Australia Barat yang menumpukan pendidikan serta inovasi sains dan teknologi selain memfokuskan inovasi dan penyepaduan teknologi moden dalam STEM. Antara aktiviti yang dijalankan ialah penyelidikan dan pembangunan iaitu R&D serta menggubal sukatan pelajaran yang menggunakan kemajuan teknologi seperti drone dan robot. Hadirin hadirat sekalian, dengan tajuk perkongsian ilmu pada kali ini, Online Learning and Pandemic Adaptation, Preparation for the Future, majlis dengan segala hormatnya mempersilakan Dr. Rizq Muhammad Syazwan. Dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dan salam sejahtera kepada yang berusaha Dr. Haji Abdul Razak bin Manaf, Timbalan Pengarah Kanan Kluster Khidmat Profesional IAB. Yang berusaha Dr. Hariri bin Abu Sa'ad, Timbalan Pengarah Kanan Kluster Khidmat Latihan IAB, Ketua-Ketua Pusat IAB, Pengarah-Pengarah IAB Cawangan, Ketua-Ketua Jabatan, Pensyarah-Pensyarah Kanan, dan seterusnya para jemputan, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan peserta yang dihormati. Right, so before we begin, I would like to start our session with a bit of ice breaking. Yeah, my name is Royce. I was born in Kedah. I was raised in Australia, but I was also I'm always a Malaysian by heart and by soul, obviously. I'm a medical practitioner by practice and by training, and then luckily to be in education section. So much to say that I'm so humble standing in front of you as a leader of education in our country. So, and before we begin, I would like to allow me to speak in DLP, so-called dual language program. Yeah, for two reasons. The first reason would be why English? Because because technology is always common with language in English. All the terminology that we have and we're going to use is always about English. And then why bahasa? Bahasa apa dia panggil? Bahasa jiwa raga. Jiwa bangsa, minta maaf. Ya. Tak cukup tinggi diorang bagi stand dekat saya. Terima kasih. Normally I like to move around so that we can really engage with the client, yeah, and all the the audience, and I think that reflects more on what we are about to discuss, yeah. So let's begin. So the title that has been given to me, or what I'm trying to share with you, will be online learning and pandemic adaptation, so preparation for the future. So it's a big task and it's a big topics that we're trying to kupas setiap satu. But I'll try my best. And the approach that we're going to use would be sharing moment. So what I'm trying to say adalah apa experience yang kita pernah lakukan dan sedang lakukan di sekolah kecil kami di Kajang. Then hoping that the outcome that the expected outcome, the intention would be from this experience sharing would be boleh membuka lebih ruang for discussion, or perhaps it will create more idea for everyone how we can innovate further and how we can really transform the education as what we have been discussed for the past days. Yeah. Right. So, sekolah Rizq Islamic School ini adalah sebuah sekolah kecil. Kita bermula 2016 daripada sekolah berumur 4 tahun tadika sehingga kepada darjah 6. So, we don't have any high school yet. So, the purpose of the school, when we build and develop the school, the intention is to build and create a research and a concept school. So, the purpose of it is that to identify what are the needs and requirements that we can really pattern, and from there we can further replicate on what we are doing. So a bit of introduction of video, maybe it will create more of a awareness on our side about the school.
Rise and shine now, everybody. Gather all the friends today and let's get ready. It's time for another adventure. Here I is to be a model caliph al-Islami. The Quran and Sunnah forever in our hearts. Great wisdom and akhlaq will never be apart. Guidance from the teachers, the treasure of our lives. With determination, we're good inshallah. Here we are for a better future. Here we are building our future. Here we are leading our future. 'Cause we are Rizq. We are the future. Moving forward is our mission. Together we can do more discovering. Technology's in our hands. Every day is fun and never boring. Exploring, standing strong with pride. We we are super race with brilliance and great might. Our journey will be ease, being responsible, a virtue of greatness. In every obstacle, to overcome it all. Here we are for a better future. Here we are building our future. Here we are leading our future. 'Cause we are Rizq. We are the future.
Terima kasih. Jadi itu sedikit perkongsian berkenaan sekolah kami. Jadi objective for today would be for this paper that we presented would be to share the experience, strategy as well as challenges faced in implementing online and hybrid learning in Rizq Islamic School in meeting their educational needs and public demands. So as I mentioned just now, it's all about sharing session, and I'm hoping that towards the end we can really have a bit of question and answer. So that could really even trigger more of innovation and understanding. Yeah. So the rapid technological changes have given much impact, especially to school education, and has dragged the education system to adjust to the flow of ecosystem, especially during pandemic session itself. It kind of really put a pressure point to everyone. Those that are still resistant and reluctant to go into online learning, they all have to go into online learning now. So this is what we are trying to explain. And because of the rapid changes of the technological from Industrial Revolution 4.0, and some of the country has already begun their 5.0. So this is where we really need to transform ourselves and try to keep up with the pace. So the methodology that we normally use, I'm sure para hadirin biasa mendengar dalam konteks virtual learning. So normally when we talk about virtual learning, what we understand is about distant learning, remote learning, things that happen somewhere else. Yeah. Second would be a CCL, we call it. It's classical classroom learning. So ideally, kelas biasa. And when we combine these two, this is what we call as a blended learning. And this is according to the research and study. Yeah. So blended learning would be we are taking the best of both sides and trying to combine and give the best impact for the particular school. But for ourselves as a Rizq, what we did is that the school is adapting a new definition of innovation that we call it. What we call as a hybrid blended learning. So there's a certain hybrid section that we try to introduce in the system itself. Right. So for hybrid learning, so the orientation is always about teaching method for the educators and learning method for the students. Yeah. So we try to understand what would be teacher punya kekangan ataupun kelebihan dalam konteks kefahaman untuk mengaplikasikan teknologi dalam classroom dia, dan apa pula kekangan ataupun kelebihan di peringkat student. And selalunya apa yang kita dapati adalah student nowadays, they have no problem of adapting technology. You see, if you give, a 3 years old an iPad, for example, he will naturally know how to open an iPad and they know how to navigate themselves. Yeah. But for teachers, this is where the challenge come in. So that is always has been our main focus of how we're going to invite teachers to be on board with us. So that's what HBL is all about. And the goal is to create a student-oriented center for school ecosystem and to get the most engagement from student learning achievement via VL ataupun virtual learning dan CCL or classical classroom learning simultaneously. Dalam kata mudahnya bermakna, dalam keadaan sekarang, ambil kira sebagai contoh pandemik yang berlaku sebelum ni, di mana ada student yang dah boleh datang ke sekolah. Some student, parent-parent masih reluctant nak hantar ke sekolah. Dan cikgu tak boleh nak mengajar di dua tempat yang bersama. This is where the hybrid come in. Bermakna cikgu tengah address student, anak murid di hadapan. Pada masa yang sama, there's a camera from webcam yang buka untuk anak murid di rumah. This is an attempt to create an ecosystem. It will not be perfect yet at this point of time, but it's trying to invite students so not to tertinggal terlalu banyak and lagging behind. Yeah, and the idea behind HBL is to have a flexible attendance. So the future, what we are trying to perceive is there will be parents in the future, whether pandemic atau tak pandemic, yang mungkin dia akan opt untuk tak hantar anak dekat sekolah sangat. What we call as a helicopter parent now. They're so triggered with hantar anak dekat sekolah, tak percaya semua orang. tapi dia tidak mengajar. Is it? So these are another type of parents. So this is how we foresee bahawa akan tiba satu saat dan ketika, which is already begun to be honest, whereby some teacher hantar, some parent hantar ke sekolah, some parent tak hantar. Tapi from our side as a leaders in education, we want a similarity with regard to the standard. Otherwise, the gap of the standard will be so vast yang at the end of the day, it will merely impact back kita punya national punya curriculum. This is how we perceive it. And the other part will be how to create a consistent punya system for school whereby it's not only for classroom, but we can also adopt co-curriculum, for example, any event activity with regard to hybrid learning. Right. So there's 6 challenges that we identified from our own experience. We began our RVS journey in way back 2018. Dan this is where, as I mentioned just now, sekolah ini berpusat sebagai research dan juga concept school. So the first challenge would be to create or to identify a computing that right ataupun tools yang sesuai ataupun macam tadi D2l, you mentioned regarding LMS, Learning Management System. It's a tool, it's a software. So you can choose or you can create a new one that really fit to your requirement as a school. Sebab every school sometimes they have very different and very eccentric requirements. Yeah. So what we did adalah kita create a framework, what we call as a puzzle framework. So according to this one, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So 8 different puzzle whereby kita akan match dia according to time. For example, I'm sorry if you can't see this. This is the login, username, loading page, social media, library, classroom, broadcast, podcast. So how we kind of arrange according to the needs. Apa yang cuba saya sampaikan adalah setiap sekolah mempunyai different needs and requirement dan kita tidak ada satu konsep one size fit all for everyone. So this is what we are trying to establish whereby it's like a puzzle that bila kita bagi pada sekolah-sekolah yang berlainan, dia akan try to rearrange according to keperluan dia. And for our school, we identified these are the 5 pillars that we are using. It might be different for your school, but at the end of the day, the concept of the framework is almost the same. Now, for challenge number 2 would be to empower the educators with the correct knowledge and trainings on the integrations of physical and online learning and its implementation in lesson delivery. In other words, how to empower teachers from top to bottom, from bottom to top. This is what we're trying to achieve here. So for challenge number 2, memetik sebagaimana YB Menteri katakan semalam, adanya konsep pentaksiran dalam konteks guru-guru dan juga kepimpinan education. Jadi konsep yang sama kami ambil di mana kami wujudkan juga pentaksiran dalam konteks guided punya lesson ataupun guided punya training kepada teacher-teacher internal. Sebagai contoh di sini kita wujudkan ini adalah suggested PowerPoint topic for macam mana diorang nak wujudkan ataupun guru-guru nak wujudkan konten yang sangat interaktif, animation, games, music dan sebagainya. Yang kedua, kita wujudkan dari segi kriteria pentaksiran untuk guru-guru. Jadi guru-guru tahu selagi mana mereka ikut setiap satu ini bermakna you are a safe teacher, at least with regard to HBL learning. Ini adalah sampel course outline yang dibina dan ini adalah sampel training yang dibuat di sekolah. Dan ini adalah pentaksiran yang dijalankan assessment untuk guru-guru. Jadi at the end of the session, teacher will understand what we try to assess them and how they can really improve on their side. Challenge number 3 would be to create the specific contents and piloted satu hub di mana kita equipkan mereka dengan beberapa selection of tools or apps di luar sana and we allow them to get their own apps pun, application ataupun software and try to create your punya syllabus program according to the learning objective. This is the outcome from our school after 5 years of training of teacher. Di situ kalau kita nampak Ada yang iBooks ataupun e-books, ada yang PowerPoint interaktif, ada yang games, ada yang podcast, ada yang virtual reality. So it depends. Setiap guru-guru dia ada dia punya creativity untuk animate the class. This is where we allow them to do such and such within guideline yang kita wujudkan. Challenge number 4 will be require continuous revision on the induction process and procedure for online learning, development of effective assessment and parameters for quality control. This would be another challenge whereby lepas kita initiate, di pihak kami apa yang kami dapati adalah bagaimana nak maintain momentum guru-guru. Sebab selalunya bila initiate orang excited mula-mula. And then bila dia nampak benda tu menjadi, dia seronok, budak-budak happy, dia pun happy. Tapi along the way dia akan start rasa letih dan sebagainya. So this is where we try to create a continuous revision. Number 1 what we did adalah kita wujudkan jadual. Di sini kita stratifykan setiap guru-guru di Rizq. Ada yang weekly, ada yang fortnightly, ada yang monthly assessment ataupun training. Because some of them are very good, so we just allow them to really auto-run by themselves. And after that, always give the certificate as in part of motivation for them. And most of the time, when they achieve certain level of certificate, we will send them for a proper training with Apple ataupun Google. These are the things that we try to explain to them how far that you can go with regard to technology innovations and integrations in school. Dan kita wujudkan banyak guideline pada mereka for self-reading learning for them. So this is one of the sample guideline bagaimana nak wujudkan konten-konten yang spesifik dalam konteks dia punya susun atur ataupun dalam konteks teknologi yang diguna pakai. Challenge number 5 would be to get support and understanding from PTA, industrial bodies and government during the development of the process, especially at home as part of continuous effort. Di sini banyak cara-cara yang kita pakai. Dan saya yakin di pihak kepimpinan pendidikan negara juga banyak cara yang kita guna dari sudut discussion, dari sudut hands-on workshop, seminar seperti sekarang ya. So this is one of the sample that we did with their parents.
Kita kecil-kecil kadang dia macam dekat TV dia tengok pakai VR macam mana kita nak alami ni, tapi very interesting lah. Satu move yang bagus, and then dia akan cepatkan learning curve lah untuk budak-budak. So, very good thing. Saya pun akan hantar second child ni, my son next year untuk experience benda-benda ni lah. Sebab kat sekolah kat tempat lain memang tak ada kan. So kita macam berkuah jugalah kan, ada option yang boleh send anak untuk experience benda-benda baru macam ni lah.
Jadi kita provide hands-on pada mereka sebagai contoh. And challenge number 6 would be to integrate all school fundamentals into online learning to ensure optimum translation of school environment even in online learning. Maksudnya first 5 challenge adalah berkenaan dengan classroom itu sendiri. Nak digitalizekan content, digitalizekan guru-guru dan nak digitalizekan environment for the classroom. But challenge number 6 would be now how to digitalizekan the whole school. This is where kita try untuk equipkan ataupun invite ataupun translate ataupun migrate extra co-curricular sebagai contoh. Event-event lain yang pada dasarnya agak sukar untuk dibuat secara blended ataupun HPL, dan now kita try untuk buat secara blended. Itu adalah memanah sebenarnya. Yang nampak cikgu-cikgu duduk tarik-tarik macam tu untuk co-curriculum memanah. Jadi yang tu berlaku ketika pandemik, di mana anak murid still nak ada extra co-curricular. Dia boring duduk kat rumah. Jadi kita translate dia kepada dalam bentuk virtual reality sebagai contoh. Ya. So this is a sample of how in real life ataupun in real time hybrid blended learning in action in Rizq Summit School from preschool. So this is student yang datang ke kelas. This is where student dekat rumah akan nampak interface dia, dan this is one of the assessor ataupun yang akan melihat assessment or trainer yang akan melihat the whole class berlaku. Sedikit perkongsian, seluruh konten ini adalah dibuat melalui PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint. Jadi secara kesimpulannya, untuk HBL, Research, Development and Implementation, these are the steps and fundamentals that we have defined as a school dalam sedikit perkongsian daripada pihak kami. Strategi yang kita ambil adalah 8 strategi. Strategi yang pertama, step yang pertama adalah either to create or to choose the right tools that really equip and sufficient for the school. This is where tidak ada satu software sebenarnya yang boleh melengkapi seluruh sekolah secara selari. Bermakna kita membenarkan ataupun membuka ruang untuk open concept di mana di antara sekolah-sekolah ada kebarangkalan untuk perbezaan LMS ataupun sistem. Step yang kedua, training of the trainers ataupun TOT of teachers and operators. This is where the fundamental part of equip ataupun empowerment of our school and as a teachers untuk implementkan sistem online learning. Dan step yang ketiga adalah to do a pilot test with assisted templates and protocols prior to the full implementation. So out of these 8, the first 3 is the most fundamental to us, right? Now, when we jump into step number 4, now kita akan pergi ke arah continuous observation, hands-on workshop, feedbacks with encouragement from subject matter expert, both education in origin or other multi-industrial level. Step number 5 would be to create accessible massive bank of digital and online courses of content. Bermakna apa saja konten-konten yang guru-guru buat, seharusnya kita try untuk kumpulkan satu tempat. Kerana di sini ada 2 kebaikan yang kami nampak. Kebaikan yang pertama adalah dia membantu pada guru-guru yang masih lagi tertinggal untuk buat konten yang lebih interaktif dalam bentuk online. Kebaikan yang kedua adalah dia menjadi satu training session yang kita boleh repeat every now and then. Dan juga anak-anak murid juga boleh sentiasa visit balik software untuk tengok ataupun bank untuk tengok konten-konten yang kita ada. Step number 6 would be to create a support group. Support group boleh berlaku di peringkat sekolah ataupun di peringkat parent dan juga community. And step number 7, to involve partners and parents and community itself. So partners could be a neighboring school, could be someone from industrial, macam D2l just now, or any software developer, for example. That would be step number 7. And step number 8 would be to replicate for school expansion and implementation. Sebagai contoh, these are the step yang kita akan start masukkan extra co-curricular, event, visit sekolah dalam bentuk online ataupun dalam bentuk virtual. Alright, so di sini, sekejap ya. Professor Kiran, as what he said, a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't fit with our aspirations anymore. We like the idea of being able to learn when we want, how we want, in different spaces, reflecting the changing nature of work. This is how technology works. It's always changing. Therefore, kita kena allow school, if we want to integrate with technology, we have to have the same mindset mentality to allow the changes to happen. Tidak ada satu size yang fit semua school sama. Jadi di sini timbul persoalan di mana tak semua school mempunyai resource yang sama nak buat begini. Jadi apa yang kita boleh buat? Secara kesimpulan, apa yang di pihak sekolah Rizq boleh share, kita pegang kepada 3 konsep LES. So L bermakna we speak the same language. These are the first fundamental ataupun idea yang kita pegang apabila kita nak pergi ke arah blended learning, online development, whereby same language bermakna apabila kita berhadapan ataupun kita panggil software developer ataupun learning management system, service provider, kita akan bagi tahu pada mereka keperluan kita. Kita gariskan as a school apa yang kita nak. We want them to meet our expectation rather than they give us apa solution mereka and they want us to align their solution with our solution. This is the first fundamental yang kami pegang. Bermakna kita tidak akan bagi mereka jadi front end, sekolah ataupun educators should become the front end and they should be the back end. Number 2, E would be empowerment of the educators. It's always about training. Yeah. So kita akan train dan kita akan create a platform di mana mereka boleh self learning juga, dan training tidak hanya terhad kepada operator, kita juga panggil parent and public to understand how we are doing this thing. Otherwise, there's always a resistance. That's why Wabi Menteri cakap semalam, any changes is always met with resistance. And that is why kita try to limit the resistance via empowering their understanding. E. The last part would be S, sharing. These are the most difficult part, even for us as a private sector. So sharing boleh berlaku di antara private dengan private, government dengan government, private dengan government, nation to nation, for example. Yeah. So sharing yang sedikit susah ataupun difficult to get their understanding, because most of educators ataupun education institution, they're quite inclusive in that stand. Yeah. So one thing about sharing adalah kadang-kadang ada satu sekolah A yang dia sangat bagus dari segi mathematics and creating content for mathematics. Sekolah B dia pandai dalam bahasa. Jadi when we share, we limit the time factor to create more content for both. So Maxwell bahasa bagi dekat matematik bagi dekat bahasa. This is a simple terminology ataupun sample of how sharing should happen. So even to us to get on board of a sharing session, it always has been kita punya difficult punya burden at this point of time. So to sum up, LES is what we are holding on, as in again speak the same language for any industrial that come on board. If you want to do education, you have to speak educators' language. Number 2, empowering. It's all about training, educations, and inviting them to be on board. And last would be sharing. And sharing is most difficult yang kita boleh buat. But we are trying our best. This is what we are trying to explain and try to get more collaboration in that sense. So secara kesimpulan, itu yang boleh kita kongsikan dalam perkongsian yang pendek dan what our school has done for the past 5 years. So we hope that together we develop for the future of our children. Thank you. Should you have any question, I think I still have a few minutes if you do have a question.
Dipersilakan tuan-puan, sebarang soalan dibuka untuk tuan-puan memberikan soalan kepada Dr. Rizq. Dipersilakan untuk mengetahui lebih lanjut tentang sekolah Dr. Rizq.
It's okay Puan, tak tahu sekolah pun tak apa. Tapi what we are trying to achieve adalah perkongsian apa yang kita boleh innovate together. That's what we are trying to explain sebenarnya. One thing yang kami belajar, minta maaf Puan saya mencelah. One thing yang kami belajar dalam konteks innovation adalah it's about utilization. Banyak sekolah-sekolah yang kami temui, sama ada di Malaysia, di Singapore, di Indonesia, along the journey yang kita jumpa, kebanyakan kefahaman di peringkat kepimpinan dari segi teknologi is always about mempunyai alat, tools. They always talk about cost first, and we understand why they spoke about cost, because when we talk about system, it's always expensive. Why? Sebab bila kita jumpa dengan kita punya industrial developer, industrial punya provider, they will try to push out dia orang punya alat, software, alat lah kita panggil, untuk guru ataupun untuk pihak sekolah, pihak education. So what we did adalah, what we think is utilization is the most important part. Sebagai contoh, sekolah di Indonesia mengambil guna WhatsApp sebagai medium perantaraan. It's very difficult, to be honest, to control. And we agree that kita pun tak buat WhatsApp, tapi they have no other options. But the fact that they're using WhatsApp as a utilization punya process to get the communication is an attempt of understanding, moving towards integration of innovation technology. That understanding that what we are trying to achieve sebenarnya. Once kepimpinan pendidikan memahami perkara ni, then sebenarnya pada pandangan saya, pada pandangan humble saya adalah service provider akan sedikit, orang kata apa, reduce nak paksa kita ni. We know what we're talking about, and we talk to them. This is our expectation. If you want to push out you punya solution, meet our criteria. So yang tu yang selalu menjadi perbahasan yang kuatlah di kalangan sekolah. Kepenggunaan sebenarnya. It's not about having tool, it's about use the tool. You can have all the tools that you can, but a very basic punya terminology would be you give a pencil to a monkey. He can draw, he can do anything. But if you give a pencil to a learned person, he can do a lot of things in that sense. Same thing. If you have LMS, no matter how far you bayar dan you bagi dekat dia, service provider akan happy to support in everything. But at the end of the day, if teachers can't really use it, we don't really understand how to use it, it's a waste of everything. It's a waste of everything. So it's all about utilization first. We don't bother about technology. And another concept would be for technology, it's always changing. So who can guarantee that when you have one software today, and tomorrow it will not change? It will change, definitely. And you will always be behind nak keep up dengan technology. I mean, look at your smartphone. Hari ni baru beli, esok dah keluar yang baru. Dah nampak lama. Nak kena beli baru pula. So we can't really keep up. It's all about utilization. So this is what we are trying to explain and share. If it makes sense, and I hope it really does make sense to all of you. Thank you so much for the session. Thank you, Puan.
Terima kasih Dr. Rizq. Sekali lagi dia buka, sekiranya ada tuan-puan hadirin yang ingin mengajukan soalan. Okey, silakan Puan.
Assalamualaikum. Sorry. Mic tak bersuara. Okey, sudah. Maafkan saya. Dia dengar turun tangga saja dia dah mula berbunyi. Okey, Assalamualaikum. Saya Puan Rohana binti Abdul Wahab. Saya adalah SIC Plus Sains Matematik dari PPD Jasin. Okey, soalan saya ada 3. Yang pertama, adakah silibus yang dilaksanakan di sekolah Dr. Rizq sama dengan silibus kami di KPM? Yang kedua, seperti Cikgu Rizq kata, teknologi sentiasa berkembang. Sebenarnya saya rasa pengetua atau guru besar pun cemburu dengan kecanggihan sekolah tersebut. Kalau guru-guru kami pun ada, rasanya guru kami pun bersedia untuk belajar. Namun kami kata kena bersabar dengan atas apa yang kami ada. Okey? Jadi persoalan saya seterusnya ke manakah gerak perginya pelajar ini, sebab setahu saya dalam kebenaran untuk menduduki ni sekolah rendah betul-betul Rizq, untuk kebenaran melanjut pelajaran ke asrama penuh, syarat utamanya adalah mesti berada di sekolah KPM. Adakah betul? Jadi kalau maksudnya kalau pelajar ini ke mana arahnya nanti di sekolah menengah? Okey, itu sahaja. 2 pun cukuplah Dr. Rizq. Terima kasih Dr. Rizq.
Terima kasih Puan pada soalan. sangat bernas. The first question, ya. Kurikulum yang kami pakai adalah kurikulum kebangsaan. Kami pakai national curriculum, number one. So I hope that answer your question. Jadi dari segi untuk adaptability, what we can share adalah kami memahami dari segi credit hour, timetable, requirement, sebab kami berdaftar dengan government dan kami mengambil kurikulum kerajaan, bermakna kami kena tally dengan kerajaan punya requirement. So that's what we did, alhamdulillah, and we managed to do it. And we still experimenting, to be honest. It's not perfect system, but we trying to. Number two, menjawab soalan puan juga, dari segi attendance, seperti mana saya katakan tadi, hybrid dah berlaku di pihak sekolah kami. Tetapi buat masa sekarang ni, hybrid yang di rumah adalah pada keadaan pandemik dan pada keadaan sakit. Ataupun travel. Di sekolah swasta ni ada satu masalah puan. Kadang-kadang parent nak travel, dia tak bagi tahu pun kat kita. Pasal dia suka travel, dia pergi dia travel. See? So bila travel, dia tak sakit. So by default, dia boleh belajar. So what we did, we still send dekat dia, dekat parent, you still kena minta anak you masuk kelas, that one is considered as an attendance. Otherwise, you will lag behind. You sakit, kita faham. You tak sakit, no, you have to attend. Sebab to get parents punya understanding is very difficult. Because nowadays, I'm sorry to say, especially with regard to private sector, some parents are very good with collaboration. Some of them are basically, mereka hantar, mereka expect kita buat semua. And we understand very, very well that education is all about collaborations. Yeah. So, hala tuju mereka, attendance masih lagi mengikut dan kita perlu mengisi. Dan kita in fact kena isi pun dalam sistem komputer government, tak saya, untuk bagi tahu kedatangan student kita. Yeah. So, HBL berlaku untuk keadaan-keadaan begitu buat masa sekarang ni. As I mentioned just now, that's what we foresee in the future. If this thing works and ada perubahan dari segi dasar perundangan, it might works in that sense. But at least we have already prepared our children how to behave in that environment. I really hope I did answer your second question.
Okey, Dr. Riz mohon terus berada di pentas. Majlis dengan itu mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Yang Berusaha Dr. Riz atas perkongsian ilmu itu tadi. Sebagai tanda penghargaan dan terima kasih, dipersilakan Yang Berusaha Dr. Haji Abdul Razak bin Manaf, Timbalan Pengarah Kanan Kluster Khidmat Profesional Institut Aminuddin Baki untuk menyampaikan sijil dan cenderamata kepada Yang Berusaha Dr. Riz. Baik, majlis mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Yang Berusaha Dr. Haji Abdul Razak bin Manaf atas penyempurnaan majlis itu tadi. Baik, hadirin dan hormati sekalian, berikan tepukan sekali lagi kepada Yang Berusaha Dr. Riz dan pasukannya atas perkongsian ilmu pada pagi ini. Hadirin dan hormati sekalian, dengan ini majlis ditangguhkan dan akan disambung pada pukul 11.30 pagi untuk pembentangan selari di bilik-bilik latihan. Dipersilakan tuan-puan untuk menikmati minum pagi. Sekian, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Okey, salam sejahtera semua. Sila salam sejahtera semua. Okey, sambil-sambil makan tu sila kunjungi bilik-bilik pameran dekat Dewan Besar ya. Pukul 11.30 masuk ke bilik pembentangan di L415, 418 dan 412. 415, 418, 412.